Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Help Is Here podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about cognitive behavioural therapy and why it may not be the best solution for porn addiction. I had therapy many years ago and I remember leaving the office just wanting to watch porn, not really feeling any clearer on how to solve this problem. So I went home, back to my flat, and, I went and relapsed and felt even worse because then I'd lost 50 quid or whatever, spent an hour of my time, and my problem was just as bad as before I had the session. So, maybe you could argue, all right, maybe I should have had more sessions or something like that, but I don't think so, and I'll explain why today. So it can be such a frustrating feeling. You want to make progress, you want to overcome your porn addiction, and you're spending money and time working with someone to try and find a solution. But no matter how hard you try, you end up going back to the porn and you end up feeling a bit demoralized. You end up questioning maybe like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why do I keep on ending up in the same place? I'm doing all this work on myself. And don't get me wrong, I think cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, is a much better approach than trying maybe like the no-fap streaks out or just relying on willpower and motivation. If we're actually focusing on changing our thought patterns, then we are one step of the way towards maybe finding a bit of freedom and a bit of peace of mind from this problem. However, where CBT can fall short is actually in that moment of compulsive desire. So I'm going to share a little story from last week with you to hopefully illustrate the point why I don't believe CBT is quite enough to solve someone's porn addiction. So I'm coming home on the tram last week from the studio. I just recorded another podcast in here. And I get a call from my girlfriend. I'm about halfway home and I get a call from my girlfriend. She's like, all right, Tom, would you mind picking up some teriyaki sauce from the shop? She was cooking some stir fry for us, looking forward to a nice meal together. And she asked me to get some teriyaki sauce. So I get off the tram about halfway home, and I decided to go to the shop. Sainsbury's, there's a Sainsbury's local in the train station. So I go up to the train station, get a bottle of teriyaki sauce, go back down, and it's like an 8-minute wait for the next tram. And I'm like, oh no, my girlfriend might be a bit annoyed at me. Oh dear, I'm going to be late home. So I wait for the tram, jump on the next tram that comes, and then it ends up being the wrong tram. So I end up going way further out than I wanted to be. It was raining a lot, and that was kind of the reason why I'd got off at the train station anyway, is to stay indoors so I could get the teriyaki sauce without going outside and get back to my flat without really spending much time getting soaked in the pouring rain. So I'm on the tram, I'm like, oh no, got on the wrong one, end up staying on it too long as well, going even further out of the way to my flat, and I'm feeling a bit like annoyed with myself. I'm thinking, oh dear, I've really messed this up. I'm just sick of like waiting for trams and going on the wrong transport and all sorts. So I'm just like, right, I'm just going to walk home because at least then I know what I'm doing. I can't make any mistakes. I know exactly where I am. I know how to get home. It's only like a 20-minute walk. So I decided to walk home from this other station that I had ended up at by getting on the wrong tram. And I'm walking home and I'm feeling pretty pissed off with myself. I'm thinking, oh, how have I messed this up so badly? Like, what am I doing? Oh my God, like, it's so easy to just get a bottle of teriyaki sauce. And I'm feeling this discomfort, largely due to the way I'm thinking about things, some self-deprecation going on. And then I'm thinking, oh, like, why did she ask me to get the teriyaki sauce? Couldn't she have just got that herself? And like, I'm thinking, oh, she's going to be so annoyed at me. And like, oh, we're going to argue when I get in. I'm having all these thoughts. But the walk is, as I say, about 20 minutes long. So I kind of get to a point about 10 to 15 minutes into this walk where I'm just like, all right, what's really going on here? And I start getting a little bit wiser with regards to like how I'm thinking about things. And I realize I'm experiencing some discomfort right now. That's what's going on. I'm experiencing some temporary discomfort. And what I'm actually doing in my mind is trying to get away from this discomfort. What I'm doing is I'm trying to come up with some kind of excuse, because what's on my mind is like, what am I going to tell my girlfriend? How do I get out of this? Like, how do I say to her, oh, do I blame her? Like, why did you tell me to get the teriyaki sauce? Do I say to her, oh, I'd just been busy at work. Like, my mind wasn't really in, going to the shops, or like, oh, I was just on the tram already home. Like, it could have been such an easy journey. Like, why did you have to interrupt that? And I was trying to come up with some kind of bullshit excuse to rationalize my own mistake. And at that point, I kind of realized, like, what am I doing? Like, all I'm trying to do is get away from some temporary discomfort. And I don't have to do that. I can just choose the temporary discomfort. So I got into a very rational headspace on all of this. I knock on the door and I just say, hey, I'm really sorry, I messed up, trying to get this teriyaki sauce. And I just made a joke. I was like, I hate teriyaki sauce now. I'm never going to have this teriyaki sauce ever again. Like, let's stick to sweet chili sauce and soy sauce. Like, I'm done with teriyaki sauce, all right? And I come in and I'm pretty soaked as well, the rain had really got me. So I just kind of make a joke. And my girlfriend, to my surprise in a way, was just like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, I'm still cooking. Don't worry about it. And honestly, just wasn't bothered at all. So I just thought it was so interesting because I was like, wow, like this is so similar to what goes on with porn addiction recovery. Because what happens when you're going through recovery is you have these moments of compulsive desire where you experience a lot of discomfort. You really want to do this thing, and you're going to be experiencing so much more discomfort if you are in feelings of deprivation. We do teach people within Beyond Compulsion Academy exactly how to get out of feelings of deprivation, and that is really a topic for another day. But essentially, when you're trying to overcome your porn addiction, you're going through some discomfort. And in those moments, your mind can be very, very busy, and it can be saying things like, once won't hurt, this is okay, this isn't going to count as porn, I'm not actually going to do it, I'm not going to relapse. Or it can be like, oh, this is too difficult, the urge is building up, like, when is this going to go away, like, will I ever get out of this desire, I may as well do it anyway, and then I'll never do it again. And you can have all these kind of thoughts, and it's very, very similar to the kind of way in which my mind was busy trying to get me away from the discomfort as I was walking home in the rain, regretting getting on the wrong tram. So it's a similar kind of concept. Of course, with addiction, it can be a lot more intense, but the principle, the concept of, okay, you're experiencing some discomfort and you want to get out of that is quite similar. And what you always have is a choice, is you can either go through the discomfort and willingly accept it and know it's temporary, or you can avoid it and come up with some bullshit excuse, some rationalization to avoid taking responsibility and stay stuck in the same place going round and round and round. And fortunately, what I was able to do in this scenario with the teriyaki sauce is go, okay, I've made a mistake here. It's not the end of the world. It's really no big deal. Yeah, there's a bit of discomfort here, but that's fine. And let me just take complete responsibility for this and choose the discomfort rather than try and avoid it by like blaming my girlfriend when it really wasn't like my girlfriend's fault at all. That was completely reasonable to ask me to go get some sauce, right, for the stir fry that she was cooking. And where does this kind of fall into the topic of CBT? Well, here's the key thing. Like, this is what I really want people to hopefully take some insight away from, is with cognitive behavioural therapy, what you're going to get is some training on maybe rethinking things and changing the way you think. But how addiction works is in that moment of compulsive desire, your mind is going to churn out an indefinite amount of bullshit, junky thoughts and unanswerable questions. So it's going to be spinning around with any single thought pattern it can develop to try and get you to relapse. Now, what you need is one solution to that. If you try and correct every single little minute, individual, incorrect thinking pattern, or you try and correct every single unanswerable question with some kind of CBT style logical thinking, then you're just going to be there going round and round in your head, like in this battle, like just back and forth, because there's always going to be another new excuse. There's always going to be a new rationalization. And so what you need is just one simplistic way that deals with all of that, all in one, as like a package deal. And like, you've got to understand that your mind is going to keep on churning out rationalizations until you go, okay, I know what's going on here. My mind's just trying to get me away from discomfort. And the only antidote to that is really willingly accepting that temporary discomfort and going, okay, this is all right. I can deal with all this bullshit going around in my head. I don't need to get involved and try and like respond to every single little thought pattern. I just know what this sensation is right now. It is some temporary discomfort. I know how to choose that, and I can think and respond to this situation in a rational, logical way. That's all you need to do. And, you know, once you've made that choice, you don't need to like analyze anything else. Like, I could have gone and spent hours like analyzing this whole teriyaki sauce situation, and it would have got me literally nowhere. Like, the only reason I've gone back into this story is to try to illustrate a point that can hopefully help you guys out. Other than that, I would not have gave this whole thing any more thought at all, because there's no more analysis to be done because I've already made the right decision. And that's all you need to do with pornography addiction recovery as well. It's like you don't need to go round in circles, analysing, overthinking everything. You just need to make the right decision, which is how you respond to your discomfort in that specific moment. And if you make that right decision, you make a good call in that moment, in that critical choice that you have, then you're good and you just crack on with your life. So hopefully this can help, share a different perspective on things. The main point I just want to get across is with CBT, although it can be very effective to get you on the right path of like actually changing the way you think about things, in that essential, that critical, that inevitable moment of compulsive desire, the thoughts are going to persist until they're all dealt with as a package, and you realize that overall, just in that moment, you are wanting to engage in a compulsive behaviour. That is uncomfortable, and unless you're willing to choose that temporary discomfort, you're just going to keep on having more and more and more thoughts, and you could spend, your whole life in therapy going back and forth, trying to analyse and dissect every single little thought, but it's all part of the same thing. One final way to just illustrate this, I've spent a lot of time in ice baths over the last 12 months, and ahead of getting into the ice bath, your mind can be very busy, and it can say things like, or when you're in the ice bath, in fact, like after like 5-10 minutes, the mind will start saying things like, am I going to get hypothermia? Is this too dangerous? When am I going to warm up? Oh my God, am I going to get ill from staying in here too long? It'll come up with all these different rationalizations, excuses. But from my experience, every single time I've just willingly accepted the temporary discomfort of being in that ice bath, I've been absolutely fine. And I've never had any of these extreme consequences that the mind tries to conjure up to get you out of the discomfort. This is just how the mind works. It wants to get you out of discomfort. And once you know how to deal with that and think it through rationally, you're going to be absolutely fine. Now, if you want to get started on learning exactly how to deal with temporary discomfort in the correct way, getting out of feelings of deprivation, getting connected to the neural pathway of compulsive desire, thinking through your desires in a rational way to change your neural pathways, then you can join the Beyond Compulsion Academy. I'll leave a link below. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.